This is the second mini podcast that we're doing, and we decided to structure it in two parts. The first kind of 15 minutes will be about the next month and the next releases that are coming up, and then we'd like to give you like 5 to 10 minutes of a short preview on what's to come on the crafting system and what you can be looking forward to, but that's still a little bit out. So let's directly go to Lou. How are you feeling this morning?
Hey, good. Just had some construction workers in the flat. But now ready to get started. Yeah, I think we teased last week that our focus is shifting a little bit towards the gameplay loop, or not even a little bit, majorly. And this week we want to give you even more of an estimation, I guess, of what that actually means for us, because we have decided how we want to approach it. We've been teasing expeditions for quite some time already. You've seen some screenshots. If you were on Decoded, for example, in Copenhagen, you could even see like a small demo for those of you who were there. But yeah, we have a working prototype already, and what we basically decided now, instead of diving deeper into more complex game loops, which we are going to go into, but what we decided on is take what we have already built now together with Brandon, and release that and have like a first MVP, first prototype version of that to play, to basically test the whole dungeon system we have built. And yeah, it is actually way more fetched out already than we initially thought. So it includes even a global event with like a global monster, which can be attacked by everybody, and the main goal is to basically defeat together. But yeah, so basically what's waiting for you is in a couple of weeks. We're pretty confident to do that pretty fast now, since it is basically built to go live already, is this first expedition loop that will feature the auto battler. So the main idea for us is to then iterate over that battler. So we think the whole dungeon crawling and the whole just general infrastructure of that is really cool, and we think it will be a nice general game loop for us. And basically what we are now trying to decide is how is that battle mechanism going to look.
Yeah, and instead of iterating over kind of the combat mechanism further, like Lou said, that was kind of the biggest decision, to just say, like, even though we know that the fighting will change over time and we want to give the players more agenda during the fighting, we have something that we can release now, and it's not the game loop like perfectly like it should be at the very end, but it is a version that we want to release. And we didn't want to do it before because we had this feeling of like getting out this, I don't know, a bit more refined version of it. But the reflection over the last weeks has gotten us to the point where we said, no, that's not how we started, and we should not go down that route, because that will just always delay what we're having, because we always want something a bit better. So we said for now the auto battler is fine, and an auto battler means that you have the NFTs, which is the remark basis, and they have the items on them. And basically the auto battler takes all of that input, calculates it into kind of your overall stats, and then some kind of business logic in the back is going to bump you against an enemy in some regards, with obviously some more intricate stuff, and that's what Lou is talking about. So we have to do some basic balancing, but our goal wouldn't be to make this the super perfectly balanced thing, because we know we're going to swap out the basis of the combat anyway. But we believe that this is already something that can be really fun for everyone, because it gives another layer of utility to your NFTs and another layer of content to achieve something in the game.
Yeah, I think what's pretty cool as well is, so I've built this auto battler a month ago at this point, because we believed at first that that's going to be our main mechanism, I guess. But we now, like we said, strayed away a little bit from having this mechanism where we basically just watch, but we want something more engaging. But what we already built, for example, as well with Summer Shades, is like a nice sneak peek of how this battler works within Discord, for example. So we started to focus more, and I think that's a really exciting part about, for example, yesterday's meeting. We started focusing more on content again as well, which I have been trying to push a little bit in the last couple of weeks, where I think it is quite easy to add more content, but it makes it really exciting, and it makes it really engaging. And there should always be something for you to chase, something to look forward to. It should never really feel stale. So I'm really excited to yeah, finally get this content pipeline going as well. So next to basically our development roadmap, which we have and which is still super important, we're gonna have this content roadmap that basically yeah, kind of follows, I think, not as dedicated as, I don't know, like a Fortnite season roadmap where we have the seasons every time, but it just gives us like a nice yeah, nice estimation of when which content is going to be released, and it obviously means new content, which we aren't really publishing right now at all. So, yeah, that's a really exciting part, at least for me as well. And then obviously having stuff like this whole Discord battler, which we can use to kind of create engaging events and maybe some weekend events. If you look at stuff like Donnie with his Summerverse, I think they're doing a pretty good job at just creating engaging events. It doesn't need to be super high tech. It doesn't need to be super high end. It just needs to be something that people can look forward to and feel engaged to. So I'm really excited for that.
So a little bit back to the roots for us. And yeah, time-wise, what does that mean? So you mentioned the salt mining, which is one of the first milestones. We're later going to go in a sneak peek of the crafting system, but we decided that we're not going to implement this whole thing now because it will take a lot of time to implement. So we're going to give you chunks and pieces of this crafting already before. So you will be already, so I would say within the next 3 weeks, somehow something like this, you'll be able to craft your first remark equipable. And it will most likely going to be in the form of a fishing hat. And then, as Lou said, yeah, extend from there and get you more content more frequently. So I think that's something to look forward to, because we also take it serious that we see, for example, some people saying, hey, like, what's the next steps? What are we doing this for? So we're going to take that serious and really playing on these parts, because we have so many frameworks in place that makes it easy for us to put new stuff on the table now. Yeah, and yeah, in parallel, we're going to already work on the new fighting system and so on, but we have a few different streams. Like we have a content stream like that is mainly Oswin and me. We're kind of defining these new gameplay loops. We're thinking about lore. We're thinking about like how to present that. But there is then also different loops like Lou and QBG, for example, working in parallel on the Lunar Gaming Festival, but also on the marketplace to bring that back to you. So these are kind of like the salt farming, the first crafting, the Lunar Gaming Festival, so that these frogs will also be able to jump into the game and serve kind of as a blueprint for future demo stuff that is coming up. And then the marketplace, you all know the peer-to-peer trading going on here, will also be a part of Evolut again, most likely this year, I would say. Right, Lou?
Yeah, I think seems reasonable enough if nothing comes in between it. But yeah.
So the expedition for us is really the main thing we're striving forwards to do, and that's kind of the biggest, I think, that will change the way how you interface Evolut, because you'll have a much more real-time component to it. And the plan is that we're going to advance this into more of a roguelike adventure. So it will already start as one. Roguelike meaning that you go through a dungeon and your HP is in most cases ticking down, and you have to really be conservative about it until a point where you either beat it or you get beaten. And yeah, there are some nice surprises along the way, and also later on drops that you can get from the expedition. And together with crafting and the resource system, we really believe we are onto something really truly fun for you.
Yeah, I think what I really like about our approach with expeditions now as well is so this first iteration will be basically off-chain, so you will have to authenticate with your wallet in order for us to basically know who is doing those interactions. But maybe some of you guys have played some I guess off-chain on-chain hybrids already, where it feels like you're playing a Web2 game, but it's actually a Web3 game. But what I really like about this approach we're taking now is that it's not about perfection in this first iteration. It's more about experimenting, seeing how it's being perceived, how you guys like it, and then we can always put everything on chain. Like that's our end goal, to obviously have it on chain and have it be decentralized, etc. But to get there, we have to first create something that is fun and engaging, and it's way easier to prototype and way easier to get a general sense of how it feels for stuff like that. And it also allows us to not yeah, dig ourselves in like a hole where we develop something for 2 or 3 months and have it like all polished and have smart contracts and everything ready for it, and then we realize, oh, it's actually not as fun as we thought it is. So yeah, taking that approach kind of goes back to the roots of the Kraken missions, where you basically just had one window where you could put in your harpoon and throw it at the Kraken, and rather than releasing a whole polished mission system like we have at the moment, we decided to, even back in the day, do something really really simple to see if people would be engaged and like it. And yeah, I think we're, like Deckard said, kind of going back to the roots of that, which I think is really exciting.
Yeah, I think that covers the next steps very roughly. I think we can give an update next week of where we stand, but this is something what we just talked about for the, I would say, Q4, so the rest of the year. These aspects, but we imagine that we're going to make a lot of progress already in the next 3 weeks. So it makes sense for us to keep you updated on this. So let's use the last 5 minutes to give you a sneak peek on what we imagined crafting would be. I'm just switching my tab over, so you won't see it, Lou, but I'm just switching my tab over to Excalibur. So there is, let me just, so you know already the gaming loop. Let me zoom out. So you know the crafting that is there now. It is so I'm not showing anything, so it's all quite far away, but I will zoom in a second. The crafting right now is that you can make a fishing rod, and that's basically it. So there's wood crafting, so there's crafting, there is basically crafting bait and so on. But we want to restructure that in a way that is getting you much more specialization in the process. So how do we want to do that? Be aware that everything I show you is not final, but this is our way of how we will tackle it. So there will be different professions. We are having two words. One is kind of the gathering professions, and one is the kind of level 2 professions. And the gathering professions will be accessible for everyone. So everyone will be able to do wood logging, water fetching, mining, and hunting, which will be new. But then there is an element of choice. So this element of choice will force you to take a decision to be one of these 5 different professions. So cooking is free for everyone, most probably, but then we're going to split within woodworking, blacksmithing, leatherworking, tailoring, and engineering. And without going into too much detail, these will be the professions that kind of specialize in different tiers of equipment. So while a sword can only be made by a blacksmith, the leather armor of a berserker can only be made by a leather worker, or the robe of an undisclosed character can only be made by a tailor, for example. That is kind of the simple way, but on the other end, different things that the professions can make. So, for example, if you have a berserker, you would get your axe and your sword from the blacksmith, while you would get your club or any of these weapon types you would get from a woodworker, like a woodworker who would also do the bow and the crossbow. But like both ranger and berserker would be wearing leather armor, for example. So this whole ecosystem will look like this. So if we, for example, go into leatherworking, you would have a new profession that is called hunting. And in this profession hunting, you're going to be able to collect animal hides. In this case, for example, hyena hide. And in the hunting, you're going to collect these hides. And in the leatherworking profession, one part is to upgrade your items to, for example, a hyena leather in this case. So you're kind of increasing the quality by taking 3 hyena leather and making 1 hyena leather out of that, hyena hide and making leather out of it, but also other stuff like leather oil and so on and so on. And with these items, you'll be able to craft, for example, a leather armor that you need some magic finds, some hyena leather, and for example, a linen thread. What is a linen thread? A linen thread is something that, for example, a tailor needs to make from cloth, so that you need to trade with a tailor to basically craft this item. So while you're specializing, you're also relying on other professions and other people that need to have a linen thread unlocked in their character to make this. So one example for a leather worker would be, he would be able to make some oil that another profession needs to, for example, blacksmith needs for another crafting recipe. So this world is meant to be interwoven, and it's also meant that you unlock recipes at a certain point. So, for example, you wouldn't be able to make refined hyena leather at the very start, but you have to unlock it at a certain range here. And this is what we think what World of Warcraft has really perfected, the crafting professions, so that it's not easy to advance just to journeyman leatherworking, but certain recipes only give you experience until a certain threshold. So it will be a challenge of itself to advance these jobs and to be a really good leather worker, and will identify with, like, I'm a leather worker level X, so that I unlock, for example, these recipes that you can then, for turn, sell on the market. And because we see a lot more supply in terms of items being on the market, we also have a very special profession, and that is going to be the engineer. The engineer's job is to basically, he can craft, and he's specialized on jewelry and like the rings and necklaces, for example. But he has one very special ability, and that is the disassembling part. So while you see here, there is something that requires dust. So what is like this Gaussian dust? Dust is a resource that is acquired by disassembling items. For example, these items that have been crafted through craftsmanship. So, for example, someone crafted a simple red leather armor. I'll keep the variants of styles for another day, because there will not be just one style. You will see a lot more different styles. But in this case, someone crafted a leather armor, and it turned out to be a red leather armor. and then it will show you like to disassemble that. So kind of you destroy that item and you get out certain currency, which is the dust, and you have a chance to, for example, extract a shard from it, which is a more valuable resource that you'll need later on. And you can enhance with as you have seen, you can enhance many jobs with some certain knowledge fields and certain tool fields, where also the Book of Lore will come in. So for example, you'll have a very rare item from kind of the tarot card collection. You put in this item, and that might generate, or that will certainly generate a Genesis shard for you, which will keep the value of your item, although the item in stat-wise might be a bit inferior to the one that has dropped at the boss of the expedition. So we want to make the items better over time, but we want to still maintain the value of what you hold as an NFT. And these Genesis shards, they will be something very, very valuable to craft further on. So it's kind of a very interesting, like zooming out, and you see there is a lot more. Zooming out, and I'm now going back to Lou in the chat. We will be having a very intricate crafting system where you have a specific role and you want to advance that role, or maybe not. Maybe you don't want to focus too much on that one. And you need the other ones, and you need the marketplace a lot, because you need the linen thread from the tailor, or you need X from someone else, right? So everyone will have their niche in the game, from fisherman to everyone, to supply other ones for the stuff needed, and to collectively advance kind of the ecosystem. And there are interesting ways how you going to find your niche, and how you know like what's needed on the market, and get some good stuff going on because you watch the market, for example. Yeah, and that was a very longer than thought sneak peek. I think you saw a lot of stuff in there, but we want to share our thoughts more, because you see there are a lot of thoughts already on paper that we're discussing. So this is something that the game will grow into, but this is not the first step that we're going to have. So the first recipes we're going to introduce will be on the woodworking table, and they will still count to the normal crafting profession. And at some point we're going to make a cutoff. We don't know how we deal yet with experience, how it will migrate over or not, because we're splitting into 5 different professions. But this is something we have planned for long, and this is something we started implementing, and then we noticed, hey, we would have to lock ourselves in for another 2 months to get this rolling. Why not start small and roll stuff out small, and then work towards that goal and share that goal with you guys? And that's kind of what we do today. So I think that concludes it. Lou, anything else?
Yeah. No, I haven't seen it, but I've seen the prototypes of it and all the thinking behind it. I think we're going to share more of those Excalidraw prototypes we're creating, because at least I think it's quite exciting, and it gives a nice insight into where we're at and what we're up to. So stay tuned for more of those, because I think it's really exciting seeing stuff being developed basically from scratch, obviously with some inspiration from here and there, but having something be created from scratch for us, and then seeing it develop, I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks, guys, for tuning in, and see you next mini podcast.
See you. Bye-bye.